on a distant planet far, far away, 2 times more massive than Earth, and filled with advanced and mystical creatures. Let's look back at how these creatures developed. Asteroids filled with water crystals started crashing down on the hell like planet. The planet quickly filled with water and started looking like it does now. Small, tiny microorganisms that breathe on carbon dioxide and breathe out oxygen started to form. These bacteria started to divide and create bigger and bigger organisms till crustals formed. These crustals were highly advanced and intelligent creatures. They would build huge cities and futuristic civilizations. But then, catastrophe struck. Everything was obliterated by that asteroid. Nothing of the previous civilization existed. All was reduced to rubble. This asteroid also had a weird chemical that changed the natural ecosystem of planet C. The original creature had been separated into two separate creatures, the mantle and the crustal, as well as parasitic creatures known as the warden. They come from strange materials of the asteroid. As the arrow of the cross section of the planet shows, that's where the crusts live. Here is the deep dark, a barrier between the crust and mantle. The wardens live here. This is the mantle. This is the place where the mantle creatures live. This planet's outer core is same thing with the inner core. Let's speed this up. This is the crust. So we're back. Remember the mantle? Let's explore it. This is the mantle. So we're back again. Now we're finally exploring the deep dark. This is the deep dark. This planet used to be extremely prosperous and alive, but everything changed after the incident of the asteroid. Everything changed after the incident of that asteroid. Now these creatures have to live in separation in the tyrannical rule of the warden. Anyone who passes through the dark is killed. It's only hoped that these creatures would team up and fight in a huge war, but that is only speculation. This planet is extremely far from succeeding, and nothing is going to change in the near future. All we can hope is that this planet is free and the creatures return to their natural state. So now that we know some information about the two divisions, let's find out how they work. It's time we learn some biology. Everyone, welcome. The crust creatures anatomy. Now we will find out how these creatures work. So, as we can see, there are quite some familiar organs already, such as the heart, the bloodstream, the large intestine, the small intestine, the bladder, kidneys, stomach, the liver, and the brain. Now you start to notice the new organs. The new organs are the photon, the exhaloph, the egg gem, and the subtubary cube, the lexus claw, crust egg, and the chrysallid acid. So you may see there are quite a few blue bloodstreams. Those represent the deoxygenated blood. It travels from the eye gems into the diamonds in its body, where the CO2 is absorbed by the crystals. Now, let's go into detail about the new organs. Firstly, we need to understand that these creatures have a funnel like head. The oxygen particles enter from the above and start to go down into the photon. The photon is more of a compressed version of the human lung. It is more of a modified version to fit in the crystal like body. The photon has adapted to tubes overlapping around it, which brings us to our next topic. How did they mate to create new creatures? So it all starts when two crust creatures take their center gem off, which reveals the exhaloph. The exhaloph are shiny glowing tentacle-like organs that attaches to the creature's exhaloph. They both rub onto each other and create a spark. That creates the cryogen. The cryogen is the reproductive fluid that creates if the mating works. Soon, the cryogen travels around the subtubary tube. In this tube, it gets mixed with chemicals and enzymes that help it in the process. Once the cryogen reaches the Lexus claw, a gate to its egg stem opens. If the substance didn't fully evolve during its pass down the subtubary tube, the liquid changes in color and tarnishes. But if it does work, the Lexus claw opens its pathway and allows the cryogen to enter the egg. The egg gem is where the real process starts. After the cryogen mixes with the crust egg and crystallic acid, it starts evolving like a human embryo. But that's a story for another day. Keep in mind that there's 1 in a 20% chance that the process works 100% though. This is why the crust birth rate is highly low. Since we've gone through some biological factors of the crust creatures, now let's go over the mantle creatures. So as you can see, there are quite a few repeating organs such as the heart, kidney, liver, large intestine, small intestine, the stomach, the bloodstream, the brain, the bladder, and the exhalaf. The new organs are the skerlotube, the momolex, the heat lux, the manizo acid, the domain egg, the logoyel, and the Sheeran layer. Now, let's see how these creatures mate. At first, they find a partner and open their shell up. This reveals the exhalaf, and they use it in the same way the crust creatures do. This creates a spark and creates the logoyel. This substance gets transported up by the tube and all the way to a ball-like organ called the moboplex. This is where the substance gets mixed with manizo acid and the domain egg. Soon, if the process is successful, it goes down the tube and waits for it to cool down. This is because the momoplex temperatures are very high. If this all runs successfully, the real process begins and the new mantle creature is born. You might be wondering, how do these creatures survive in such high temperatures? These creatures have the heat lux, a lung-like pouch in which they breathe in prolexine. The gas which runs throughout the mantle. This gas goes through the scorlotube and into the heat lux. It's very complicated at first, but once properly researched, it can get easier to understand. Now, my friends, we have reached the end of our journey. We have created these 5 creatures which have had their ups and downs throughout history. What do you think will happen between them next? A war, a friendship, an ending. Keep thinking and shining. Hope you like our project. Goodbye.